Silent watchers. The Alliance starship Sentinel drifted silently through the void at the edges of human-explored space. Its hull, scarred from meteorite impacts and bearing the patches of numerous repairs, told the story of its 10 years of faithful service to humanity's expansion efforts. Captain Elara Thorne stood on the bridge, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she observed the star field on the main view screen. "Status report, Lieutenant Chen," she said, her voice carrying the quiet authority that had earned her both respect and a reputation for being meticulously thorough. Lieutenant Wei Chen looked up from his console, the blue light reflecting off his glasses. "All systems nominal, Captain. We've completed our survey of the Epsilon Eridani sector. No signs of habitable planets, but we've cataloged 3 gas giants with potential for helium-3 extraction." Thorne nodded. Resources were always welcome news for the rapidly expanding Alliance colonies. Humanity had spread quickly among the stars in the century since discovering the Mass Effect drive, establishing outposts on dozens of worlds across 27 star systems. Yet despite all their exploration, they had found no evidence of other intelligent life. The universe, it seemed, was either empty or very good at hiding. "Dr. Novak, anything interesting in your scans?" Thorne asked, turning to the science station. Dr. Irina Novak, a brilliant exobiologist with a penchant for finding patterns where others saw only chaos, frowned at her displays. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, bringing up new readings. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures at coordinates 115 to 4378. They're faint, but definitely artificial." Thorne straightened, her interest piqued. "Natural phenomenon?" "No," Novak replied, her voice gaining intensity. "The pattern is too regular, too intentional. And there's something else. Based on the distribution, these signatures form a network, a grid of some kind that extends throughout this entire sector." Chief Security Officer Marcus Wade moved to Novak's station, his broad shoulders blocking the light. The former Marine carried himself with the permanent readiness of someone who had seen too much combat. "A monitoring network," he suggested, his deep voice rumbling with concern. "That would be my assessment," Novak confirmed. "And based on dust accumulation patterns and radiation decay, it's been here for approximately 14 months. A chill ran down Thorne's spine. 14 months. Someone's been watching us. How did we miss this before? "The technology is incredibly sophisticated," Novak explained. "It's designed to absorb rather than reflect our scanning frequencies. We only detected it now because we're using the new quantum resonance scanners installed during our last refit." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. If someone had been monitoring human expansion, they'd had over a year to study humanity's capabilities, behaviors, and weaknesses. "Lieutenant Chen, bring us to alert status. Power up defensive systems but keep weapon systems passive," Thorne ordered. "Commander Wade, prepare a secured transmission to Alliance Command. They need to know about this immediately." "Captain," Chen called out, alarm evident in his voice. "Massive energy spike detected from the monitoring grid. It's activating." Before anyone could react, the view screen flickered, replacing the star field with an image that caused everyone on the bridge to freeze. The alien figure that appeared was vaguely humanoid, but with startling differences. Its skin was a metallic blue-gray that seemed to ripple with subsurface bioluminescence. 4 amber eyes arranged in a diamond pattern regarded them from a face that featured no visible mouth or nose. Only patterns of light that pulsed as a synthesized voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel," the alien said, the translation carrying an artificial cadence. "I am Arkshan Talassen of the Acceleran Collective. Your primitive craft has violated space claimed by the Collective. This transgression cannot be ignored." Thorne stepped forward, maintaining her composure despite the shock of first contact occurring under such ominous circumstances. "This is Captain Elara Thorne of the Alliance starship Sentinel. We were unaware of any territorial claims in this sector. We come with peaceful intentions and would welcome diplomatic relations with your people." The alien skin flashed patterns of blue and purple. "The collective has observed your species for some time. Your rapid technological advancement is unusual. Your biological adaptability is concerning. We pose no threat to your people, Archantalassen," Thorn assured, choosing her words carefully. "Humanity seeks only peaceful coexistence with other intelligent species. Peaceful intentions are irrelevant when potential exists." Talassen responded coldly. "The collective has analyzed humanity's development. Your species advances through conflict and competition. Given sufficient time, you will inevitably challenge the collective's dominance." Thorn felt her stomach tighten. "You've been studying us." "Thoroughly," the alien confirmed. "Your history is violent. Your adaptability is exceptional. Your innovation is unpredictable. These traits make you dangerous, not now, but eventually. The collective does not permit potential threats to mature." "What exactly are you saying?" Thorn asked, though she already suspected the answer. "The collective has determined that humanity must be contained. You will transmit the coordinates of all human settlements. Your species will be relocated to designated reservation worlds where your development can be properly managed." Anger flashed across Thorn's face before she could suppress it. "And if we refuse?" The alien's skin rippled with patterns that somehow conveyed amusement. "Your vessel will be destroyed as a demonstration. Then one by one, your colonies will follow. The choice is simple: controlled existence or extinction." The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "They've cut communication," Chen reported unnecessarily. "Options," Thorn demanded, turning to her senior officers. Wade spoke first, his expression grim. "Based on the energy readings from their surveillance network, their technology is at least a century ahead of ours. In a direct confrontation, we wouldn't stand a chance." "So we don't confront them directly," Thorn replied. "Dr. Novak, what did you make of their surveillance network?" The scientist had been analyzing data throughout the exchange. It's impressive but specialized. Designed to detect conventional energy signatures, fusion drives, quantum communications, antimatter reactions. But there are gaps. "What kind of gaps?" Thorn pressed. "Their sensors seem calibrated for advanced technology. They might overlook simpler systems as irrelevant or harmless," Novak explained. Thorn nodded slowly, an idea forming. "Like considering a Stone Age spear harmless against power armor." "Precisely," Novak confirmed. "They're looking for threats that match their understanding of dangerous technology." "Lieutenant Chen, prepare a quantum burst transmission to Alliance Command. Full encryption," Thorn ordered. "It won't get through," Novak warned. "The Xylarans will detect and block quantum communications." "Then we use something older," Thorn decided. "Prepare a conventional radio transmission. Old tech, low power, something they might dismiss as background noise." As her crew hurried to comply, Thorn stared at the view screen, now showing only stars again. Somewhere out there, the Xylarans were preparing to make good on their threat. "Chief Engineer Reyes," she called over the comm. "Reyes here, Captain," came the quick reply. "How quickly can you modify our shield emitters to create a targeted electromagnetic pulse?" There was a pause. "An EMP, that's ancient technology, Captain. Practically prehistoric." "Exactly. And sometimes the oldest weapons are the ones your enemy forgets to defend against." Understanding dawned in Reyes's voice. "I'll need at least 2 hours to reconfigure the emitters without taking our shields offline." "You have 1 hour," Thorn replied. "And Victor, I need you to prepare something else as well." The next 60 minutes passed in intense preparation. The radio message was transmitted on an old frequency, broadcasting a warning to any Alliance ships that might be listening. Meanwhile, the Sentinel prepared for battle against an enemy with vastly superior technology. "Captain," Chen called out. "Multiple vessels approaching at high speed. configuration unknown, but their energy signatures matched the surveillance network. On screen, Thorn ordered. The view screen showed 3 ships, each at least twice the size of the Sentinel. They moved with unsettling grace, their hulls shifting and reconfiguring as they approached like liquid metal flowing into optimal combat formations. "They're scanning us," Novik reported. "Intensive scans, penetrating our outer hull." Thorn nodded to Wade. "Activate Defense Protocol Omega-7. Throughout the ship, crew members initiated the unusual strategy they had prepared. Power systems cycled down to minimal levels. Weapon systems appeared to go offline. To the Accelerant sensors, the Sentinel would appear to be experiencing catastrophic system failures. "They're slowing their approach," Chen reported. "I think they believe we're having technical difficulties." "Good," Thorn said. "Let them think we're crippled. Rise, status on the EMP emitters." "Ready on your command, Captain," the engineer's voice replied. "But I should warn you, we'll only get one shot before they adapt. Then we make it count." The comm system crackled, and Talassan's voice filled the bridge once more. "Human vessel, your primitive systems appear to be failing. This is the inevitable result of inferior technology. Prepare to be boarded and cataloged." Thorn gave a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Now, Chief Reyes." The Sentinel shuddered slightly as the modified shield emitters fired a concentrated electromagnetic pulse at the lid Accelerant vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the alien ship's elegant movements faltered. Its shifting hull froze mid-configuration, sections of it darkening. "Direct hit," Wade reported, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. "Their main systems are offline. All power to engines," Thorn ordered. "Get us out of here before the others can react." The Sentinel's engines flared to life, propelling the ship away from the disabled Accelerant vessel and its companions. As they accelerated toward a nearby nebula that would provide cover, Thorn knew this was just the beginning. The Accelerants had made a critical error. They had dismissed humans as primitive, unworthy of respect or diplomacy. They had threatened extinction without considering that even the most primitive creatures fight with unexpected ferocity when their survival is at stake. And humans were far from primitive. Defiance in the dark. The nebula engulfed the Sentinel like a shroud, its swirling gases and dust particles providing both concealment and danger. The ship's exterior lights illuminated only a few meters of the surrounding space, the rest lost in a soup of cosmic particles that glowed with eerie purples and blues from ionizing radiation. "Damage report," Captain Thorn demanded, steadying herself against her command chair as the ship shuddered through turbulence. Commander Wade consulted his display. "Hull integrity at 87%. We took a glancing hit from their energy weapons as we fled. Engineering reports the starboard power coupling is failing, and we've lost long-range communications entirely." Thorn nodded grimly. They had escaped, but at a cost. And the Accelerants. Lieutenant Chen worked his console, frustration evident on his face. "The nebula is interfering with our sensors. I can't get a clear reading, but I detected multiple energy signatures entering the nebula approximately 9 minutes after we did. They're searching for us. Shut down all non-essential systems," Thorn ordered. "Minimum life support only. No external emissions. We need to be ghosts." As the crew complied, the bridge darkened to emergency lighting only. The ambient hum of the ship's systems faded to near silence, leaving just the sound of breathing and the occasional creak of the hull as it cooled. Dr. Novak approached Thorn's chair, her voice low. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data we collected from the Accelerant ships. Their technology is indeed far beyond ours in most respects, but it has peculiarities." "What kind of peculiarities?" Thorn asked. "Their systems are incredibly advanced but highly specialized," Novik explained. "They've optimized their technology along very specific evolutionary paths, refined to perfection. But this specialization may have left blind spots." Chief Engineer Reyes joined them, wiping grime from his hands with a rag. like their vulnerability to the EMP. Their defenses were designed to counter threats at their technological level or higher, not something as primitive as an electromagnetic pulse. Exactly, Novik continued. And there's something else. Their ships use an incredibly sophisticated form of automation, almost like a technological hive mind. They're coordinated perfectly, but that centralization could be a weakness. Thorne stood, pacing the small area of the darkened bridge. So they've evolved their technology to be perfect, but perfection can be brittle. What about biological weaknesses? Did we get any readings on their physiology? Novak nodded enthusiastically. Yes, their bodies appear to use some form of metallic organic composite. They're essentially biomechanical, with internal structures that blur the line between technology and biology. This suggests they've been augmenting themselves for generations, possibly millennia. Can we use that against them? Wade asked. Possibly, Novik replied. Their biology seems optimized for efficiency in a controlled environment. They may have sacrificed adaptability for perfection, just like their technology. Thorne stopped pacing, a dangerous glint in her eye. So they think in straight lines. They've evolved to be perfect within their parameters, but they don't adapt well to the unexpected. That would be my assessment, Novik confirmed. Rice snorted. Then they'd picked the wrong species to threaten. Humans are nothing if not unpredictable. A plan began to form in Thorne's mind. The Sentinel was damaged and outgunned, but they weren't beaten yet. If the Tsillarans thought humanity would go quietly into extinction, they were about to learn otherwise. Reyes, what's our weapons status? She asked. The engineer grimaced. Main rail guns are operational but low on power. Missile launchers 1 and 3 are functional, but we only have 7 missiles left. Launch tubes 2 and 4 were damaged in our escape. What about the shuttle? Is it operational? Yes, but without stealth capabilities, they'd detect it the moment we launched. Thorne smiled. Then we'll need to modify it. The Exilurans expect us to use our technology in conventional ways. Let's show them how creative humans can be when backed into a corner. For the next several hours, as the Sentinel drifted deeper into the nebula, Thorne's crew worked tirelessly on her plan. The ship's shuttle was gutted, its interior stripped to make room for their improvised weapon. Meanwhile, Dr. Novik continued analyzing the Accelerant data, searching for any additional weaknesses they might exploit. In engineering, Reyes and his team worked on modifying the remaining missiles, while in the medical bay, Dr. Aisha Kapoor prepared emergency trauma kits. Everyone understood the stakes, not just their own survival, but potentially that of their entire species. Thorne found Wade in the armory, inspecting the boarding rifles they'd seldom had reason to use. You think it'll come to that? She asked, watching him check the charge on each weapon. Wade didn't look up from his task. I hope not, but if your plan fails, and they board us, I intend to make them fight for every centimeter of this ship. Thorne nodded, respecting his pragmatism. How many combat-trained personnel do we have? Officially, 8 security officers, including myself. Unofficially, I know at least 12 other crew members have combat experience from the border wars or colony defense forces. Prepare them all, but quietly. I don't want to panic the rest of the crew. As Wade acknowledged the order, Chen's voice came over the comm. Captain to the bridge. We have movement. Thorne hurried back to the bridge, where Chen had managed to get the main sensor array working at minimal power. 3 Accelerant vessels, moving in a standard search pattern, he reported, pointing to the ghostly outlines on his display. They're using some kind of advanced sonar-like technology that works even in the nebula. Distance? Thorne asked. Approximately 4,000 kilometers in closing. At their current speed, they'll reach our position in about 40 minutes. Thorne studied the display, noting the methodical, grid-like pattern of the alien search. They're being thorough. No improvisation, just systematic coverage of the entire area. Captain, Novik called from her station. I found something interesting in their communication patterns. They're constantly updating each other, sharing sensory data. It's like they can't operate independently for long periods. A weakness we can exploit, Thorne mused. Lieutenant Chen, plot a course that will bring us behind that large gas pocket. She pointed to a particularly dense region of the nebula. We'll let them pass us, then execute the plan. As the Sentinel slowly maneuvered into position, running on minimum power, Thorne gathered her senior officers in the conference room adjacent to the bridge. The Xylarans believe their technological superiority makes our defeat inevitable, she began. This arrogance blinds them to the possibility that we might threaten them. Here's how we're going to use that against them. She outlined her plan, watching as understanding and determination spread across their faces. It was audacious, perhaps even foolhardy, but it played to human strengths: creativity, adaptability, and the willingness to take risks. Questions? She asked when she finished. It's insane, Rice said bluntly. Then he grinned. I like it. Wade nodded slowly. The timing will have to be perfect. If we miscalculate, we'll be sitting ducks. Then we don't miscalculate, Thorne replied simply. Any other concerns? There were none. They knew the odds were stacked against them, but each person in that room was prepared to do whatever it took to protect humanity. As they dispersed to their stations, Dr. Kapoor caught up with Thorne in the corridor. Captain, a word, the doctor asked quietly. Thorne nodded, stepping aside with her. The medical bay is prepared for casualties, Kapoor reported. But I should inform you that our supply of synthetic blood and tissue regenerators is limited if we sustain heavy injuries. Understood, Doctor. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Kapoor hesitated, then added, I also wanted to say, your plan is brilliant. Exactly the kind of unexpected thinking that the Xylarans wouldn't anticipate. Thorne smiled grimly. Let's hope they think so too, right before it blows up in their faces. Back on the bridge, the tension was palpable as they watched the Xylaran vessels methodically search the nebula. The aliens moved with precision, their scan patterns. Thorne drew her sidearm, not the standard-issue energy pistol, but an ancient chemical projectile weapon, a family heirloom she carried for luck. The sound of the gunshot was deafening in the confined space of the alien ship. The bullet struck the Xylaran in what passed for its head, and unlike the energy weapon, this primitive projectile had the desired effect. The alien collapsed, blue fluid leaking from the wound. Primitive weapons, Thorne said grimly, just like the EMP. Their defense systems don't recognize the threat. They hurried back toward the airlock, the countdown in their heads growing more urgent with each passing moment. As they ran, Jean worked on her portable device. Captain, I managed to download about 40% of their database before we were interrupted, including something called the Ascension Protocol. It seems important, heavily encrypted. Good work. We'll analyze it back on the ship. They reached the airlock just as Wade's voice came through again. Captain, hostile ships in weapons range in 30 seconds. Seal the airlock. Prepare for emergency disconnect, Thorne ordered as the last team member crossed the threshold. The moment the airlock sealed, Thorne gave the command. Get us out of here, Lieutenant Chen. Maximum thrust. The Sentinel tore away from the disabled Xylaran vessel with such force that everyone was thrown against the bulkheads. The docking clamps had barely retracted before the ship was accelerating into the nebula, leaving a trail of plasma in its wake. Hostile ships opening fire, Wade reported from the bridge. Evasive maneuvers. The Sentinel shuddered as energy beams lanced through the nebula, most missing but one grazing the ship's port side. Damage to decks 3 and 4, Chen reported. Hull breach contained. Shields at 41%. Deploy countermeasures, Thorne ordered as she rushed onto the bridge, still in her environmental suit with the helmet removed. Canisters ejected from the Sentinel's stern, dispersing metallic chaff that would confuse the Xylaran sensors. Meanwhile, Chen piloted the ship deeper into the denser parts of the nebula, where visibility was near zero. They're pursuing but slowing, Wade confirmed. The nebula's interference is affecting their coordination. Thorne nodded grimly. Just as we thought. They don't adapt well to unexpected conditions. Keep going, Lieutenant. Get us as deep into the nebula as you can. For the next hour, the Sentinel played a deadly game of cat and mouse with the pursuing Celeran vessels. Chen's expert piloting kept them just ahead of their hunters, using the nebula's natural features as cover and distraction. Finally, Wade reported, "I think we've lost them." No sign of pursuit for the last 20 minutes. Thorne allowed herself a small sigh of relief. "Good. Take us to coordinates 338 Mark 42. There's a dense asteroid field there where we can hide while we analyze what we've recovered." As the Sentinel limped toward their temporary sanctuary, Thorne called a meeting of her senior officers in the ship's laboratory, where Dr. Kapoor and Dr. Novak were already examining the unconscious Celeran. "Report," Thorne said as she entered. Kapoor looked up from her work. "Captain, this being is remarkable. Its biology and technology are completely integrated. The metallic component of its skin isn't an exoskeleton or armor. It's part of its cellular structure. Can it communicate once it regains consciousness?" Thorne asked. "I believe so. Its neural patterns are becoming more active. The EMP effect is wearing off." Novak added, "And we've made progress with the data John recovered. The Celarans aren't just atmosphere analysis." Thorne whispered into her helmet comm. "Breathable but high in trace metals," replied Dr. Kapoor, who had insisted on joining the boarding party for her xenobiological expertise. "Our filters should handle it, but I wouldn't remove helmets." Thorne nodded and gestured forward. The team of 6 advanced cautiously, weapons raised. The corridor they entered was unlike anything they'd seen before. The walls seemed almost organic, with pulsing conduits embedded within translucent material that resembled both metal and living tissue. "It's like the ship is partly alive," Specialist Zhang murmured, the young engineer scanning continuously with her portable diagnostic tool. "Focus," Thorne reminded them. "Primary objective is the command center. Secondary objective is their data core. Remember, we have 20 minutes before the nebula dissipates enough for their reinforcements to find us." They moved deeper into the vessel, encountering no resistance. The EMP had done its work well, shutting down not just the ship's weapons and propulsion, but apparently its internal security systems as well. Every few meters, they passed panels that flickered weakly as the ship attempted to restore power. "Captain," Wade's voice came through the comm. "The other 2 Celeran vessels are attempting to navigate through the nebula reaction. Estimated time until they reach us, 18 minutes. "Understood. Keep the engines hot. We may need to leave in a hurry." The team reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. Jean consulted her scanner. "Strongest energy signature is to the left. Likely the command center." They followed her lead, moving with increased urgency. As they rounded a bend in the corridor, they encountered their first Celeran crew members. 3 aliens sprawled on the deck, their metallic skin flickering with weak pulses of light. "Are they dead?" Security Officer Kazama asked, weapon trained on the unmoving forms. Dr. Kapoor knelt beside one, scanning it with her medical tricorder. "Not dead. Their systems appear to be in some kind of maintenance mode, similar to a coma in humans. The EMP must have affected their cybernetic components." "Bring that one," Thorne ordered, pointing to the smallest of the 3. "We need a specimen for study." Kazama and another security officer secured the unconscious alien, its limbs rigid and unresponsive, and prepared to transport it back to the Sentinel. The team continued forward, finally reaching what could only be the command center of the vessel. The room was a perfect circle, with control stations arranged around a central holographic projection area currently dark and inactive. Here, too, several Celarans lay incapacitated. "Zhang, get to work on their systems," Thorne commanded. "Download everything you can. Focus on fleet deployments, homeworld coordinates, and technological schematics. Yes, Captain. While Zhang plugged her adaptive interface into what appeared to be a data port, Thorne explored the command center. Unlike human ships with their practical, utilitarian design, everything here spoke of a civilization that had evolved beyond such concerns. There was an elegance to the Celeran technology, a sense of purpose refined over countless generations. Captain, Zhang called out, excitement in her voice. I've accessed their system. It's incredible. Their computer architecture is like nothing I've ever seen. It's processing information in at least 9 dimensions. Can you download their navigational data? Thorne asked, moving to look over Zhang's shoulder. Yes, but there's something strange. Their star charts show hundreds of systems we've never charted, but they're avoiding entire sectors that should be rich in resources. It's almost like they're afraid of something. Before Thorne could respond, Wade's urgent voice came through the comm. Captain, the Celeran ships have found a way through the nebula reaction. They'll be in weapons range in 5 minutes. We need to leave now. Zhang, grab everything you can. We're leaving, Thorne ordered. Kazama, is the specimen secured aboard the Sentinel? Yes, Captain. Dr. Kapoor is prepping it for stasis. The team began its hasty retreat from the command center. As they turned to leave, one of the previously unconscious Celarans suddenly lurched to its feet, its skin flashing with bright patterns of red and orange. Before anyone could react, it lunged at Zhang, who was closest. Security Officer Kazama fired instantly, the energy blast from his weapon striking the alien in the center mass. The Celaran staggered but didn't fall, its body seeming to absorb and redistribute the energy. Conventional weapons ineffective. Kazama shouted, backing away. The alien advanced, its limbs shifting and reforming into blade-like appendages, its 4 eyes fixed on Zhang with frightening intensity, overlapping to ensure no area went unchecked. They're passing the gas pocket, Chen reported. Estimated time until they clear our position. 3 minutes. Prepare for power-up sequence, Thorne ordered. Stand by on modified shield emitters. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person focused entirely on their task. There would be no second chances, no room for error. They've passed us, Chen confirmed. No indication they detected our presence. Thorne took a deep breath. Execute Phase 1. The shuttle bay doors slid open silently, and the modified shuttle drifted out, its engines cold, propelled only by the gentle push of pressurized air from the bay. Inside the gutted craft was their secret weapon, an improvised bomb created from the Sentinel's spare fusion reactor, rigged to overload in a specific sequence that would generate an enormous electromagnetic pulse. Shuttle is away, Wade reported, drifting on calculated trajectory. Start the count, Thorne commanded. Seconds ticked by with excruciating slowness. The shuttle continued its silent drift toward the unsuspecting Celaran vessels. One Celaran ship is altering course, Chen warned. They may have detected the shuttle. Hold steady, Thorne replied, her voice calm despite the tension coiling inside her. Everything depended on perfect timing. Impact in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A brilliant flash illuminated the nebula as the shuttle collided with the nearest Celaran vessel. The immediate explosion was relatively small, just enough to breach the alien hull. But what followed was spectacular. The fusion reactor overloaded, releasing not just an explosive force, but a massive electromagnetic pulse that propagated through the ionized gases of the nebula. The pulse, amplified by the nebula's unique properties, washed over all 3 Celaran ships. Direct hit, Wade announced triumphantly. All 3 vessels are showing power fluctuations. Now, Phase 2, Thorne ordered. Full power to engines and weapons. Target the nearest disabled ship. The Sentinel roared to life, emerging from hiding like a predator from the underbrush. Its rail guns opened fire on the nearest Celaran vessel, targeting the areas Novak had identified as potential weak points. They're trying to restore power, Chen reported urgently. The lead ship is beginning to recover. Fire missiles 1 and 2, Thorn commanded. Target their propulsion systems. The missiles streaked across the void, finding their marks with unerring precision. The Accelerant ship shuddered as secondary explosions rippled along its hull. The other two ships are moving to intercept, Wade warned. Their weapons are coming back online. Evasive maneuvers, Thorn ordered. Bring us alongside the damaged vessel. Prepare boarding teams. The bridge crew stared at her in shock. Captain, Wade questioned. You heard me, Commander. We need their technology and any intelligence we can gather. This may be our only chance. As the Sentinel maneuvered toward the crippled alien ship, Thorn knew she was taking an enormous risk. But if they were going to save humanity from the Accelerant threat, they needed every advantage they could get. The Sentinel shuddered as it took a glancing hit from one of the recovering alien vessels. Shields at 63%, Chen reported. We can't take many more hits like that. We won't have to, Thorn replied. Execute Phase 3. Outside, the remaining 5 missiles launched from the Sentinel, not toward the enemy ships, but into the nebula itself. Specially modified with chemical catalysts, they ignited the gas pocket they had hidden behind earlier. The nebula erupted in a cascading series of chemical reactions, creating a wall of flame and radiation that separated the Sentinel from the 2 functional Accelerant vessels. Docking procedure initiated, Wade announced as the Sentinel locked onto the damaged alien ship. Boarding teams ready. Thorn stood from her command chair. Commander Wade, you have the bridge. I'll lead the boarding party myself. Before anyone could object, she added, we need their navigation data and any intelligence on their fleet deployments. I know what to look for. As she strode toward the airlock where the boarding team waited in environmental suits, Thorn couldn't help but wonder what they would find aboard the alien vessel. The Accelerants had threatened humanity with extinction, believing themselves superior in every way. Now it was time to show them just how dangerous, primitive humans could be when fighting for their survival. The turning tide. The airlock connecting the Sentinel to the disabled Accelerant vessel opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Captain Thorn, in the lead position, raised her hand signaling the boarding team to hold. The interior of the alien ship was bathed in a dim blue emergency lighting that cast strange, flowing shadows across surfaces that seemed to ripple and shift despite being solid.